So as long as it's fair, as long as it's voluntary, inequality is fine. Inequality is great. We want those who succeed to be more rewarded than those who destroy value. But in the sense of our current environment, we have really sinister inequality.
If everybody, if the water's flowing and everyone is benefiting, right? Everyone's cup is filled. People are happy, right? They have better things to do than to line up outside of someone's house and threaten to chop their head off.
I don't think we should be setting up guillotines anywhere, and that's why I love Bitcoin. It's the peaceful revolution, right? But why do people want to set up these guillotines? Because they know the system isn't working.
It started to make a lot of sense to me that if we fixed money, we fixed so many problems in society. And so as a technology person, I was like, what should I be working on that's more important than this? There's nothing more important than this.
Hello and welcome to the Tucson Bitcoin podcast. Today I have on Paul Mendoza, who is the Director of Business Development over at the Tucson Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, and he also has a company called Vibin, which is a business consultant company to help business owners grow as a company and use more effective tools to run their business. But yeah, we had a great conversation. It was a lot of fun talking about Tucson and the role of small businesses in the economy and, what it's like to be an entrepreneur, et cetera, just, really good stuff. So yeah, I hope you enjoy the conversation. And we're recording. Welcome to the podcast, Paul. Good to have you on.
Thank you for having me, Alex. Appreciate it.
So you're the head of business or director of business development at Tucson, or the Tucson Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. So what is the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce about?
Well, we're here to be a liaison or a point of contact for businesses. There's a huge need for making connections between business to business, and especially when it comes to the Hispanic market. I mean, those are the businesses that are open the fastest. More businesses are being registered by the Hispanic community, and we're here to try to make those connections for those businesses so they can promote their business or their product and have them and doing it in the right way. The same thing, we're here to serve anybody in the community that wants to make that connection, even some other businesses that want to interject or be able to make those connections with the Hispanic market and making sure that their product and their business is being served as well in that market. So we're here to be able to be that bridge to make those connections for them.
Yeah, that's awesome. I had Dre Thompson on recently from Startup Tucson talking about the importance of small businesses. Why do you see local businesses as important to the economy and to the Hispanic community in particular?
Well, small businesses in any community, they're a huge impact in an economy. They're just not have that impact financially, but they actually are able to create jobs. The money that we invest or that we spend in a local business, the majority of the money stays here in our community and any community. So an example, like for every dollar that you spend, let's say a McDonald's or a national chain, a couple of cents is the only amount that stays here in the community, because the rest of the money goes back to their whole corporate offices. They probably have their own marketing team. They distribute their money to different areas, right, of their business and their projections to make sure that they have the right flow of cash going and impacting their company. But if you're a small business, it's pretty normal that they actually have somebody that they hire that is a local graphic designer, a local web developer, somebody that's local that is providing their products or services. So that money comes around. So for that, I mean, I think it's around like 60 cents that stay for every dollar that we spend in a local company stay here in our community. So even if we shift just a small amount of our investment or our expenses that we use in local businesses, that will have a huge impact on the economy, the local economy here.
Yeah, absolutely. Those are some pretty crazy numbers if you really break it down and think about it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, like I mentioned, like small businesses are the ones that are creating the most jobs. So if we continue to support them, they provide then an opportunity for them to grow as a business, but then to grow the the workforce in our community. And the more people we have working, the better it is for our community.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, so small businesses have been hit super hard during the pandemic. A lot of businesses, small businesses, have had to close. Do you think that these entrepreneurs are going to be able to bounce back from that, or are we going to see
Uh,
long?
well, I'm an optimist. I think that there has been a ton of challenges that COVID has brought in, or 2020 has brought in this year, especially with COVID-19. But I feel that what COVID has done is that if we were going in a transition to be able to use technology and different methods for our businesses to stay alive or to adapt and evolve, I think if we were going in that transition 5 to 7 years in the future, that change is happening like right now. We're already seeing it. When it comes back to small businesses, I feel that this year has showed them or has put them in a place that maybe in areas that they never have focused before a lot. Because if you're a small business, normally your customers are customers that have been loyal to you for many years. Word of mouth has been one of the biggest ways that you market yourself, but you've never seen the importance of having a strategy to be able to market yourself. And then come again, having a presence on social media, be able to have a website, or maybe you never ever thought of having a point of sale to take a credit card because you were taking cash. So I feel like those little changes have definitely changed the way that businesses look at. But I think as an entrepreneur, and as an entrepreneur myself, I had to adapt for with my business to be able to stay afloat. But I think every single business has to change and evolve. So I think entrepreneurs right now are in a rough spot because of what has happened. But I feel is open up way different opportunities and maybe they thought their business was not be able to be possible to do business that way. So I feel it has been challenging, but at the same time, I think it's been a growing and learning year for all of us to be able to adapt as a business and as a community.
Yeah, yeah. What are some of the ways that your business has had to pivot and shift?
Well, we're actually living it right now, right? We're doing a virtual conference right now via Zoom or podcast. So it's even like that, being able to deliver our services to our clients or future clients like this virtually. So with this, it comes two challenges. One, to feel and make sure that the other party that you are servicing feels comfortable by using this type of technology, just being able to use Zoom and feel comfortable with it and be able to have or make them feel that they're getting their money worth when it comes to be able to provide content or a class or a workshop, or even our products that we're selling online. What are we doing to make sure that we're making it easy for them to consume our product and service, and make it easier for them to be able to find us? So personally, this is one of the ways that we actually have adopted to be able to provide our services. With my business, we do business consulting, and we actually work with youth as well, where we create workshops. So I know it's been hard, an example for the youth part, because of school. I mean, they probably spend 8 hours already on a computer and then have an extra layer of that on when it comes to a workshop or a class that is an elective that is going to be able to help them. We're trying to make it fun, more interactive, and keeping the sessions a little bit shorter on time so they can actually get the much needed information in a smaller amount of time, but having more activities to be able to do besides just sitting down and watching a screen. So and just be able to do that. Then that same thing methodology applies to businesses. Making sure that we give them and provide them the right information, and make sure that we are following up on the activities or homework they have to do to make sure that their business is sustaining and thriving through these hard times.
Yeah, Definitely. So you work a lot with kids in local schools. Do you feel like there's a positive energy towards an interest towards entrepreneurship, or is that kind of a
Absolutely. No, I really think so. I think corporate America is changing before our eyes. I feel there's a lot of different ways that you can actually become successful, besides just following the I guess the traditional route, right? Just making school. School is important, but we have to be sincere with ourselves and understand this school is not for everybody. But to be able to be successful in different areas or different facets that are not your traditional way, you have to dedicate the same amount of time and effort to educate yourself and prepare yourself to make sure that you are successful in your own craft, your own individual path and dream. And I feel right now, with what COVID has done, is actually created different ways and different platforms where youth can actually thrive and make sure they are provided different tools for them to be able to be creative. And I think right now it's a time that everybody is being creative with their business, their personal life, making sure that you are engaging with those that are watching you. And I think the internet, social media, websites has provided us a platform for everybody to have a level playing field for you to be able to create something from nothing.
Yeah, yeah. Social media is one of the most interesting phenomenons that has happened. You know, you see the rise of content creation across
Hmm.
the board, and I feel like younger kids have a huge leg up because they're just so plugged into it all the time
Yeah.
compared to like it's just amazing. I mean, my little sister is so good at social media and editing videos, stuff that comes harder to me, that I really have to work
Yeah.
hard at, but just comes so naturally. um, so yeah, as far as Tucson, what do you see as some of the challenges facing our economy?
Well, I think with Tucson, like one of the biggest things, right, is how to attract talent or make talent stay here in Tucson in our community, especially having here U of A. Normally, like out of 10 graduates, when you talk to them, it's like, what do you want? Oh, I'm leaving. I'm going to California. I'm going to the East Coast. They're trying to move to bigger cities. I think that to be able to retain that talent here and make it attractive for them to be able to start their companies and start their dreams here. I think that's one of the biggest challenges. And I feel that we are getting better at it as a community, as a city. We've seen the changes that Tucson has done in the last 10 years. I mean, the growth has been exponential. It's continued to grow. There's huge plans for our city to be able to continue to grow. And I think there's a lot of talent. So I think it's just being able to give them the resources for them to be able to grow their business here and be able to stay here and provide resources, education, and different ways for them to be able to engage. I think that is going to be something that is going to help our city become stronger, and be able to sustain that type of change that we're looking for. On the other hand, I feel like the Tucson community, we all support our local businesses like 100%. We have so many businesses that we've seen that unfortunately have, due to COVID, have been struggling, or they actually are in that point of almost closing. But when the community and starts supporting those businesses, now they're just starting to see that slowly but surely coming back. So I think that's one of the biggest reasons that I think local businesses thrive in Tucson, that they have the support from our community.
Yeah, absolutely. It's something that I am a transplant. I moved from kind of near the Chicago area, and it's a very different environment, big city versus kind of a community that Tucson has. It's very,
Hmm.
very unique. Um, I think it's special. So yeah, I think one of the positive things that's coming out of the pandemic for Tucson specifically is remote work. Because if
Hmm.
people aren't tied down to a specific location, they can work remotely, they're potentially going to consider moving somewhere that has a lower cost of living, which is one of the biggest upsides of Tucson. Then, you
Yeah.
know, with everything, it's some part good, some part bad, but yeah.
Yeah. And I totally agree with your assessment there. Like there is, I think a lot of corporations, from big corporations, medium, they seen that they can actually function without having a physical uh, presence, a brick and mortar location, right? Not all of us, or not all every single company is going to be able to do that, though. But there is something that has definitely changed in the way that we are productive. So now people, instead of focusing on trying to have the best building or the best office or anything like that, now they're trying to focus on having the best training for their people to be able to deliver the workflow from their home or for whatever you feel comfortable, like you just mentioned, remotely. So now we actually are learning different ways, like on how to be able to solve problems when we're not in that office space. And I think one of the things that, an office space provided was that if a problem occur, you can just run down the hallway and get that problem solved by your supervisor or somebody has the knowledge or the proper knowledge. I feel what this has done is to actually employees and employers find a common ground on how to be able to train that staff to be able to solve problems by themselves and be able to have that capacity and that knowledge on how to be able to navigate certain situations, and at the same time they're being as productive or more productive, not being in, like you mentioned, in that office space, right? So I feel that has been a positive for a lot of companies, and for them to understand that they can actually continue to grow and maintain their business without having that physical presence. So I feel that is open a lot of different opportunities as well for a lot of people, from able to work at home, like especially like moms or dads that are staying at home. It gives them a chance to be able to work and be productive from home as well.
Yeah, one of the things I heard you talking about on your podcast was it's presenting a challenge a lot of times for uh, employees, where they're forced to use critical thinking and problem solving, whereas before they could just go and ask their manager.
Correct.
Do you feel like that's an issue in our society? It's just like the lack of ability to problem solve and critical think.
Absolutely. I think myself, coming from my previous job was a corporate job, where the lack of training was the biggest problem. The corporation itself or the institution always thought that the problem was the talent. But at the end of the day, when you look at the data, you look at the analysis, you look at the studies that have been made, and then you just see the workflow and how the companies are not providing the right education or tools for those employees to be able to be successful. That's where the problems occur. And that is enabled the companies to be able to grow and expand in different areas. And I feel it just comes back to that mindset part. And that is one of the things that we focus with my company when we go and do business assessments, is to understand the mindset of the business owner or the supervisors and how they are delivering that type of knowledge to their staff. And it all comes back into, if they know more than I do, then I'm probably going to lose my job. But the way that I see it, if they know what you know, then your productivity is going to go off the roof. So that it gives you actually job security, because you are producing in levels that maybe the company was not even expecting, with the same amount of team that you previously have. So what that does, it provides you different opportunities to grow you personally, and somebody for you to be able to take that position from you, but you are going to be able to grow into a different role with a company that maybe they never thought they were going to need. So I think it all comes back to that mindset and that fear of sharing everything we know with others. But I think is one of the most common problems that exist in corporate America, and it's just being able to share the knowledge and being afraid of losing your job to somebody else, when actually I feel it will give you that job security and provide you a stable team for you to be able to grow around it. You can focus on different areas for your personal growth, to find different areas in the company or with your own business to be able to expand your company as well.
Yeah, that's a really interesting dynamic. The idea of supervisors potentially not given the training intentionally out of insecurity for their jobs. What do you think drives that insecurity in culture?
I think it's the way that, again, going back to like how corporate America has functioned for so many years, 50, 60, 70 years, that, like you have to make sure that you follow certain steps to be able to get to the position that you desire. When right now, actually at our fingertips, we have any information or knowledge you want to learn, we can literally Google it and find out what that is. But if you do that, you're not building trust with your team. You're not building trust within your circle or your employees. So that itself provides that fear, or feeds that fear of losing your job and not be able to make sure that you're sharing that information. I think is a matter of companies and employers to establish systems of growth. If knowing what is the next step, if we reach certain goals, this is the other opportunity that's going to open up. So I think that communication part is key as well. And I think in most corporations, that communication is what is lacking. That makes everybody feel uncomfortable on the way they'll be able to train and share that knowledge.
Yeah. Yeah. I've got there's a guy I know named Guy Swan, and he has a Bitcoin podcast. And one of the things he talked about in it was like this culture of I don't know what it's oftentimes referred to as consumerism, but it's kind of a culture of spending rather than saving, and how savings completely changes your lifestyle and the way that you interact with people, and you can feel more secure in your work. And I thought that was a really interesting idea, because, if you go to a bank, and you want to open up a savings account, they'll give you a really low interest rate, like 1.7%, is a good savings interest rate. And inflation is a lot higher than that. And it's not necessarily measured, I think, correctly by the government. I think CPI is a terrible metric. And I prefer this index called the Chapwood Index, which says like Tucson yearly increase of cost of living is 8.2%. So if you're putting money in the savings account, it's not really helpful. But like most people will go to the bank to open up a check-ins account. They won't offer the idea of a savings account, and then what they'll instead do is push a credit card on you, which will have, an yearly interest rate of like 17 to 25%, that you're paying. And I think that's a really interesting dynamic in our society, and kind of flows into all these different relationships. So, you have people living paycheck to paycheck that are afraid of losing their job, because if they lose their job, they're going to be thrown into a crisis. They're going to lose their health care or health insurance, and that's like food that they need to put on the table for their kids, their car payment, mortgage, all these different things. And I feel like savings are really, really powerful. But the question is like, how do you go about doing that? It's really difficult in this.
I think like you're just going back to the beginning of your point, right? Like is the tradition, or what we know, feeling comfortable going to a bank and opening a checking account or a savings account, even though you might know what the interest rate, but like you just mentioned, if the interest rate that you have for saving for a year, like 1.7, and the inflation rate is going up in Tucson 8.2, I mean, there's no way you can put enough money in there, or whatever your percentage is, to be able to cover that 8.2, right? Until you make your certain adjustments financially, say you continue to put in more money than what the interest is going to pay you at the end of the year, just to cover what the inflation is. But I think it's going back again to what we know and what we feel comfortable doing, instead of actually looking for different options and making sure that we are educating ourselves to understand what other opportunities are out there that it will allow me to actually save and get a higher interest rate. But what is the normal, right? Or the normal of just walking into a bank and knowing that my money is there, or if I open a savings account and an online bank account that has a higher percentage of for you to save the money, but you feel uncomfortable because it's not a physical place. So I think that just comes back to the part of education and understanding like what are our options out there, and make sure that we are learning about those so we can feel comfortable in making the right decision that benefits us.
Yeah, absolutely. That attitude of constantly learning and adapting is one that's not really, it's interesting. Like when you look back at public education, for an example, or just education in general, a lot of it is just like pushing people into conformity to kind of fit into a system. And it doesn't really encourage that type of creativity. So I think that's what's really cool about what you do, and going and talking with kids and instilling these different ideas.
Yeah, yeah. I think uh, the more that we share and the more that we learn about different areas and how can we able to grow, I think that opens you up to be able to understand different uh, situations from financial education. That you have options. You're not confined to this box because everybody's doing it. It's you have to fit in there. No, like you can find different ways on how to be able to find your financial stability and make sure that you feel comfortable with. But I guess it's like myself, like growing up, my parents always told me like, save your money and make sure that you are putting your money away, make sure that you're saving your money. But they never show me how to make my money work for me. So they show me how to work for money, but they never show me how to make the money that I have work for me. So I think that's something that now the new generations are understanding, especially being able to have, to create wealth and the not the traditional way, that has enabled them to be able to feel more comfortable and taking better risk, and maybe risk that it will pay off in the long run with higher dividends than somebody who's more traditional. So it's just finding the right what you feel comfortable with doing for yourself. But I think it comes back again to educating yourself so you can make the right decision for yourself.
Yeah, it's definitely the ability to educate yourself is a huge skill set. So what are some of your favorite tools for learning?
Honestly, like reading, I think that has been being able to have the time. And I'm gonna be completely honest. When I was growing up, I wasn't a big reader at all. But then, like again, you adapt to see what works for you, and actually, like Audible, being able to listen to books. That's the way that I actually retain the majority of the information, is that instead of me reading actually books. And the other one is seeking information, having conversations, listening to different point of views, what other people are doing. And I think one of my favorite tools actually that I use a lot is I'm not afraid to ask, even though if I think that question other people might think is dumb, or that I should know that, I'm not afraid to ask, and I'm not afraid to ask for help as well. So I feel those are tools, honestly, that help me to get where I'm at right now, and to be able to provide that information to others, and at the same time to use it for myself as well. But I feel one of the things that has been surrounding yourself with other people that are business savvy, making sure that you learn from them as well, surrounding yourself with those other people, forming parts of different groups to be able to learn as well from others on what they've done to be able to have the success that they have, and hearing those stories, that what it does is definitely motivates you.
Yeah, I think that's what makes things like organizations like the Tucson Hispanic Chamber of Commerce or Startup Tucson so powerful is that you get that mentorship and
Yep.
get to surround. I mean, a big part of who we become is who we surround ourselves with. And
Absolutely. I mean, like I tell people all the time when we do like the business consulting part of it, is that if you have a membership to a gym, you probably feel happy because you have it, and you feel proud because you have it, but you don't see results because you're not going. So what is the point of that? Make sure that you actually go, and then you see the results. Same thing by surrounding yourself with other people that are gonna elevate you into different areas, and you start picking up on those habits from those people. From establishing yourself as a business owner or being a better member of your community. So that definitely trickles down, and your mindset starts shifting, and you're starting to see different opportunities. And I'm not saying that you're looking at your time as waste time, but you start adapting different habits that you are using now in your daily routine to make sure that you are continuing to be better.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's just like I grew up a lot of my childhood without a dad. And so that transition from, being a teenager into adulthood and being 18, living on my own, self-supporting, trying to figure out life was, really, really difficult. And
Mm-hmm.
I think I would have been in a really bad situation had I not surrounded myself with male mentors to kind of teach me, basic things like, how do I interact with people? How do I treat women with respect? How do I, live a goal-oriented life? It's interesting. I think it's a huge problem in our society, is a lack of emphasis on mentorship, and a lot of
Mm-hmm.
people, I remember just like the media and Hollywood has huge impacts on people. So, if the precedent being set by these individual or just influencers is, driving Lambos and, taking steroids and being super jacked, like that's not as much of a thing as it was in the 80s. But I grew up on Rocky movies, and I had a picture of John Cena on my wall, and, would go to the gym, like expecting, I'll make it when I do this. And if I get a truck, then I'll feel good about my masculinity and whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's so important. Personal development and
Absolutely. The best investment we can do is in ourselves. I mean, from health. The more you learn, the better you're gonna be off. You're gonna have it's gonna open the way that you think, the way that you interact, and the way that you actually execute. So it is definitely a trifecta that's gonna be able to help you adapt in a changing world.
yeah, absolutely. So, one of the issues, so I spent a lot of time in um, the world of cryptocurrency, which is notorious for scammers. I mean, pretty much every time I post a video, I have to like delete comments because somebody's like trying to sell something, like make easy money, and we see just
Mm-hmm.
we see there's a large portion of, or well, I wouldn't say large portion, but there is a powerful portion of the population that likes to take advantage of people. What do you think are some good things, like if somebody's considering mentorship or working with somebody, to prevent them from being taken advantage of?
Yeah, I think first of all, like you mentioned, there's a lot of people that are scammers out there, and they take advantage. They prey on people because again, they don't do the proper research. Normally, what I tell anybody that is a client, even if they're gonna be my client, I was like, if I'm not the right fit for you, look for 5 more and see which one it fits. Like, it's like looking for a psychologist. You're probably not going to stay with the first one that you go and talk to. You'll probably go with 3, 4, or 5 to see which one is the one that you have the most connection. Same thing when it comes to back to businesses. It doesn't matter what you're looking for. Make sure you have different options so you can weigh in like which one is the best service provider or mentor that you're gonna be able to have, like that makes a connection with you. I think one of the biggest advice for anybody when it does gonna go into business or any type of endeavor, actually investing in cryptocurrency or anything like that, make sure you do your research and understand what that market is. What is your expectation? Have your goal set and share them with that person and ask them like, you know, what are you gonna do for me to be able to achieve that goal? Because a lot of us, including myself, that we provide that type of mentorship and services, we like getting those questions asked because we can actually form a plan for that individual specifically for him that is not catered not to everybody, but just for them. And I feel when it comes back to a service, you have to make sure you make that right connection, but have your set goals for that person to understand how are they going to be able to help you reach them. And I think it's just doing a background check on that person that you're hiring, that company, see if their values align with yours, see if their mission is something that you are interested in, and it aligns with yours as well, and make sure that that connection it does exist. And it's okay to shop around and look around for different partners that are going to be able to help you grow, but you have to do the research to make sure that that person that is going to provide that service or that product is somebody that you feel comfortable spending your money with.
Yeah, absolutely. One thing that I like that you said was like when you're working with your clients is helping them to meet their individual goals and treating them as an individual instead of just throwing a formula at them. And I think that's really important.
Yeah, I mean, and especially when it comes back to you know, anybody that provides a service, it's a harder pitch, right? It's a harder sell because there's something that you don't see. Is not I'm exchanging money for this article. It's something that you can actually touch and feel. Service is something that you're gonna have to grow as an investment, right? You're not gonna see it maybe a month or two, but maybe 3, 4, 5 months down the road, you'll see that impact on that behavior or that service that you actually are getting. So you have to make sure that you do your due diligence on researching that company or that person. Do they have the right criteria? Is like, you know, like you just mentioned, you know, you post around cryptocurrency, then you have to delete all these other comments because those are scammers. So same like you're deleting those comments, I recommend that you, anybody that's watching or listening to this, do your service, and whoever you feel is not, eliminate them. There's a lot of companies that provide the service you're looking for. Just make sure that you find the right one for your company and then aligns with your vision.
Yeah. Yeah. The due diligence is something I think is missing. There's so much trust built into all the different systems that is just kind of crazy. And I think part of the reason is the way that our economy works is it just it eliminates the ability to do things yourself, and you have to rely on third parties. So like, you know, you look at the way the money works, like you can't, it's very difficult to operate just with cash, you know, so these small businesses have to rely on payment processors. They have to rely on banks. They have to, there's so many intermediaries that come into it. And I like how you broke it down is like research what the company's values are. It's super, super important.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, one thing that's been surprising to me is the whole, like how prolific MLMs are, and just how they're everywhere, sucking people into with these like get rich quick schemes. And they're so good at, there was one company that I was looking for a job a little while ago, and they sucked me in. They had a cool product, but it was really difficult to find research on them, because I think what they did was they would rebrand every couple of years. and they had like a bunch of different branches, and they figured out a way to be kind of like secretive and seedy. So have you stumbled across any of that in what you're doing?
Yes, actually, like we've been pulled when we actually first started, we got pulled into all these different like scenarios that it didn't fit like what we were doing. But again, it goes back to it was our fault because we didn't do the proper research, and we were just trying to find an opportunity, right? And I feel like when you're starting your business, um, what you just want is a client and an opportunity for you to showcase what you can do. So you go and you're open to every single opportunity that comes in front of you, and you go and you make probably like not the best decisions, and at the end of the day it comes like a waste of time for you to be able to focus on who you are. So going back a little bit and backtracking a little bit more, and I know we haven't talked about this, but think about your customers. Who is that segment of customers you're trying to focus on? Like, and when you identify like who is your customer, what do they do, what is the level of engagement that you're getting from them, then you're not going to be able to just follow the shiny thing that is hanging out in front of us, right? Because we are just trying to get somebody to come in and focus with us. But with the proper marketing and the proper market study, that won't happen to us. And then you are going to be able to find your niche and who is your customer. Like I remember one of the biggest one of the biggest learnings that we had from one of our mentors, from Matt Gottesman, actually. We were actually having a session with him, and we were at the beginning when we started with Vibin, we were consumed by getting followers, and we wanted to become this big juggernaut when we have like millions of people following us and sharing our content and anything like that. And I remember we got stuck. I think our number was like between 800 and 900. We couldn't just move anywhere, no forward or backwards. We just like stuck. And of course, you think your product is is good, and we're like, why we're not getting that engagement? But I remember we had a session with him, and we're just talking, and we're like, we don't know what to do. And then he says, so what is your goal? I was like, oh, we want to have like millions of followers. I was like, oh, that's great. For what? Oh, we want to have like 500,000 likes and maybe people sharing it. And he's like, oh, that's great. Fantastic. All right. You guys can actually do that. Or he's like, do you rather have 1,000 people, and from those 1,000 followers be organic followers, and then from those 1,000 have 500 that are your customers, and each 500 just paying you $100 and making $500,000 from 1,000 people?
Yeah.
Would you rather do that, or just rather want your content to be shared and be liked when there's no engagement? And that was like a mind-opening engagement. And then it's true, like for any business that we actually do consulting, is like identify who your market is, so we don't fall in those traps, right? That we go and we just waste our time, and it's something that it has to do nothing with our company, with our service, with our vision, but we're just trying to get sucked in through those type of I don't want to call them schemes, but that type of funnel that is not what we are or you are looking for. But yeah, so that was a really like eye-opening, and just making sure that we understood like what we were as a company, and then that allows us to give ourselves value as a company, to understand like what we are providing to our customers.
Yeah, that's huge. And I think that kind of brings up the idea of like having a good business plan and being able to evaluate your goals on a regular basis. And it's something that's,
Absolutely.
yeah, it's something, self-reflection is something that I think a lot of people find really difficult. And I don't know why it is, but it's such an important skill to have.
It's if you look like we're talking about social media and the glamour shot, when you actually get a certain amount of followers, or you get that big contract, or like you mentioned, like the picture with the Lambos, and you're doing this, you're doing that. At the end of the day, those posts or that images or that world, is it real? We don't know. It might be, it might be not. But the majority of business owners are not living that type of lifestyle. but they do enjoy the process on how to get there. And I think being organic and being transparent on what your failures are and sharing with those failures with others for them to be able to succeed, I think that has a bigger impact of just sharing a picture with something that you have accomplished. I feel, and I think that's one of the reasons that our company continued to grow and thrive, even through this year, is because we've been really transparent with everybody on how we manage our business with our clients, that what we've been able to do. And actually through this pandemic, we actually had to like shuffle around and reorganize and look at our business plan and see like, this module is not going to work anymore. Like, how are we going to be able to change and adapt for us to be able to change with the times and be able to provide a good service and be able to be a service for other businesses, for them for not to fall in on other behaviors that are not going to be productive or not going to be able to allow them to maintain their business running. So again, what we went through, we actually transformed those 5 points into workshops for us to be able to help others through this time. So I think it's just the more that you share with others, the more they will share with you as well and allow you to grow even faster.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the things I appreciated that you brought up was some of the setbacks and challenges and failures that you've faced personally in your business. And I think that's something that's so important. Like, this has been my first time embarking on a business venture, and I've had a lot of failures and I wasted a lot of time doing things, but learning from it's been great. It's been absolutely phenomenal. And
Yeah.
and
No, sorry. I think failure is not a bad thing. Is the way you learn. Is the way that you adapt and you use that for not to happen in the future. So failure is a great measuring stick that allows you to see like where you are at and where you want to go. And if you go backwards, it's okay. But then it allows you to even move further up because you learn from that experience.
yeah, absolutely. So for somebody that is younger and about to start off on a business venture, what would be some advice that you would give them?
One, don't get discouraged. I feel one of the biggest hurdles that we have to jump when we decide to go into our own venture is to hear to listen to all that noise that is surround us, right? And unfortunately, at the beginning of the process, the majority of those negative thoughts come from our family and friends. They're just like, why are you even worrying about that? Don't do it. Just stay focused on your job. Why you want to suffer to this and go through this? One of the things that we always say as well is that if it were easy, all of us were able to have a business, but actually takes sacrifice, patience, and a lot of work to be able to make your dream come true. Don't get discouraged. Surround yourself with other people that are in that path as well of growing their business. Because one of the things that we've seen is that the more that you surround yourself with others that are trying to embark in their business, you actually get more motivated. You'll learn a lot more. You're probably going through the same things, and maybe somebody has gone through that problem and they give you an advice that is like simplify 10 times instead of reading a whole book and try to solve this. They tell you, nope, just do X, Y, and Z and you're going to be good. But having an actual person telling you that actually did work for them is a life changer. And the other one, never stop learning. Always be curious about your industry. Learn from others. Don't look at your competition as something bad. On the contrary, learn from your competition. See what processes and systems they have actually implemented for them to be able to grow. And maybe how can you use those for your personal growth, but maybe you can tweak them a little bit different. Maybe you see that something is missing from them that you want to implement for your own business. And that allows you to grow. I think that is key. I think that'll be my three advice for everybody: that don't get discouraged, always be curious, and ask for help.
Yeah. Some pretty good advice. Yeah. Yeah. Where are some good places that people can follow your work and what you're doing?
Definitely, you can check us out on our website at keepvibin.com. Actually, we're gonna have a domain change. So in the near future, we actually just purchased our new domain. So it's vibin.com. You can see the different works that we're working on and what we're doing with our community. Here at the Tucson Hispanic Chamber of Commerce as well, we are providing different courses, like from an incubator of ideas for those people that have an idea. We actually help them vet that idea to see if something that is an actual opportunity for them to grow a business, or if something that needs to be rethink and retweak a little bit more to understand what your business is. And then we provide different business consulting opportunities for businesses that are in that path of growing. So basically, our how I like to present it is that we actually teach business owners how to really become a business owner and not be an employee of their business. So that's two different things. A business owner can be out of the business, and that business will continue to generate income and continue to work. And instead of being an employee of your business, if you're not working, then that business is not producing anything. So I think everybody has a dream to start a business, is the first one to be able the business to go without us. But we have to make sure that we are comfortable on teaching, delegating, and sharing the wealth. That is going to be the key for any company to be able to grow.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Well, I really appreciate your time, Paul. It's been a real fun conversation.
No, thank you, Alex, for the opportunity. A pleasure being here with you and being able to share, like, you know, what we're doing here in our community with Vibin, what we're doing here with the Tucson Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. And it's been a pleasure. And, you know, anybody that at any point needs any type of assistance or help, please feel free to reach out. And if I don't have the answer, I will put you with the right person that is going to be able to help you to solve that problem.
Awesome. Yeah, that was a really fun conversation with Paul. I mean, he just covered so much in this conversation. Super smart guy doing some really great work to help the community. And that's something that I feel like is super underrated, is, you know, taking the time to invest in your community. And for whatever reason, small businesses are just not really appreciated for what they are. I feel like Tucson's unique in it, like Paul mentioned, that people want to support small businesses, and I just think like it's nice to have a pride for our community, you know, to focus on good businesses that are local and, you know, really are, you know, they care about our community. Like, you know, their kids go to our schools, and it's completely different than the corporate environment. But yeah, anyways, if you like the work that I'm doing with the podcast, I'd love your support. You can support me for as little as $1 a month on Patreon, and, you know, all the money that I get, it goes back into the community, whether it's like me teaching people about Bitcoin, you know, running the website, keeping the podcast going, you know, doing all those things. Like, I'm doing this because I really want to see our community grow and get better. And I feel like Bitcoin is just such a unique manner to do that. And yeah, but one of the best ways to support me is just get word out about the podcast, you know, join the community. I've got a Facebook page. I don't really like Facebook, but I've got one. But yeah, you can chat with me on Twitter at the Tucson Bitcoin Podcast. You can, you know, there's just tons of ways. Like, comment, subscribe, do all that stuff. It really helps and goes a long way. And thanks for listening.